Italy did not build supercars. Italy built arguments about beauty, about speed, about how close to the limit a road car could legally go, and then sold them to people who could barely handle the answers. The Ferrari 250 Gito arrived in 1962, carrying a number Ferrari had reported to the FIA, 39 examples built, satisfying the homologation minimum for GT racing. The actual production figure was disputed almost immediately. It did not matter. The car won anyway, 3 consecutive World Sports Car Championships, driven by men who understood that the Gito had been engineered to exploit every ambiguity the rulebook contained. Enzo Ferrari did not build road cars that happened to race. He built race cars that happened to be road legal. And the 250 Gito was the clearest proof he ever produced. Today, a single example sells for more than $70 million. The rules said 39. Ferrari agreed. The Lamborghini Miura of 1966 began as an act of insubordination. 3 Lamborghini engineers built the transverse mid-mounted chassis on their own time, without authorization, and displayed it at the Turin Motor Show to see what would happen. What happened was that the automotive world stopped moving. Ferruccio Lamborghini had no choice but to approve a car his own engineers had already half-invented without him. Giorgetto Giugiaro styled the body. The engine sat sideways behind the driver, producing 350 horsepower from a 4-liter V12. It was the fastest road car in the world when it launched. The joke became the blueprint. The Miura rewrote what a road car could be. What came next rewrote what one could cost. The Alfa Romeo 33 Stradale of 1967 was built by a company that made family saloons and sold them to people who commuted. 18 examples of the 33 Stradale were made. Each one cost more than a contemporary Ferrari. The body was designed by Franco Scaglione and weighed so little that the doors were hinged to swing upward rather than outward, saving grams that a heavier hinge would have added. Alfa Romeo never explained why a volume manufacturer had produced something this extreme. The 18 buyers did not ask. 18 built. All of them wrong for the brand. All of them perfect. The Ferrari 365 GTB4 of 1968 was never called the Daytona by the people who built it. Journalists named it after Ferrari's 1-2-3 finish at the 1967 Daytona 24 Hours, and the name lodged in the public imagination immediately. Ferrari's press office resisted it for years. The factory referred only to the 365 GTB4 in all official documentation. It made no difference. The car had a front-mounted V12 producing 352 horsepower and a top speed of 280 kilometers per hour. It was the fastest road car in the world in 1968. Ferrari never called it that. Everyone else did. The Maserati Bora of 1971 was the first mid-engine road car Maserati had ever built, and it arrived wearing borrowed plumbing. Citroën had acquired Maserati in 1968, and the Bora's braking system, adjustable pedal box, and power-assisted seats all ran on Citroën's hydraulic technology. Giorgetto Giugiaro designed the body. The result was a genuinely refined machine, quieter than its rivals, with a glass-enclosed engine compartment that displayed the 4.9-liter V8 like an exhibit. Maserati had spent decades building front-engine Grand Tourers. The Bora changed the address of the engine without changing the character of the brand. A Maserati that ran on French plumbing. Refinement was never the point of what Alejandro De Tomaso was selling. The De Tomaso Pantera of 1971 was a mid-engine Italian exotic sold through Ford dealerships across the United States. De Tomaso had struck a distribution deal that placed his cars in showrooms alongside Pintos and Mustangs in suburban American cities. The engine was a Ford 5.8-liter V8 producing 330 horsepower. The price was $12,000, roughly half what a Ferrari cost. Elvis Presley bought one, became frustrated with repeated mechanical failures, and shot it. The car survived. The dealership arrangement did not last beyond 1974. Italian Supercar. Ford dealership. Nobody blinked. The Lamborghini Countach LP400 of 1974 carries a name that requires explanation. A Piedmontese dialect word, Countach is an exclamation, the kind a workman uses when something stops him mid-stride. A Bertone employee reportedly said it when the prototype was first uncovered in the studio. Ferruccio Lamborghini kept the name. The car itself was designed by Marcello Gandini, with a body so aggressively geometric it looked like it had been cut rather than sculpted. The ELP designation stood for Longitudinale Posteriore, the V12 engine mounted lengthways behind the driver. It produced 375 horsepower and a top speed of 315 kilometers per hour. Named after a man losing his composure. Accurate. The Ferrari Berlinetta Boxer 512 of 1976 had a naming problem its engineers were aware of from the start. A true Boxer engine has pistons that oppose each other horizontally, cancelling vibration through symmetry. The 512's Flat 12 did not do this. The pistons moved in the same direction simultaneously, making it a flat engine, not a true Boxer. Ferrari called it a Boxer anyway. The engine produced 360 horsepower and sat behind the driver in a layout Ferrari had never used in a road car before. It was also mounted above the gearbox, raising the center of gravity in ways the handling occasionally confirmed, not a Boxer. Ferrari called it one anyway. The Ferrari Testarossa of 1984 is remembered for its side strakes, 5 horizontal fins running the length of each door, the most copied styling detail of the decade. They were not decorative. The Testarossa moved its radiators from the front of the car to the rear flanks to free up handling balance, and those strakes existed entirely to channel air into them. Pininfarina designed a solution to an engineering problem and produced, accidentally, the visual signature of an era. 180 examples were delivered to a waiting list in the first year. The Miami Vice television production received 2 of them before private buyers. Function invented the look. Fashion kept it. The same year the Testarossa arrived, Ferrari produced something the public was not supposed to know about yet. The Ferrari 288 Gito of 1984 was built for Group B racing, a category that permitted cars of almost unlimited power on the World Rally stage. Ferrari homologated 200 road cars and built 272. Group B was cancelled in 1986 after a series of fatal accidents made the cars politically untenable. The 288 Gito never competed in the series it was built for. Its twin-turbocharged V8 produced 400 horsepower. It remains one of the only cars in Ferrari's history built entirely for a war that was called off before it started. Built for a war that was called off. The Lamborghini Countach Quattrovalvole of 1985 updated the car that had defined the previous decade, adding 4 valve per cylinder heads to the V12 and pushing output to 455 horsepower. It also clarified a myth. The enormous rear wing that appeared on nearly every Countach poster, bedroom wall and scale model was never standard equipment from the factory. Buyers selected it from the options list and paid additionally for it. The wing offered no aerodynamic benefit at road-legal speeds and added weight. Lamborghini sold it regardless. The poster had already been printed. An entire generation had already decided what a Countach looked like. The poster wing was optional. The myth was not. The Ferrari F40 of 1987 was the last car Enzo Ferrari personally approved before his death in August 1988, 14 months after the car launched. He had been asked what Ferrari should build to mark the company's 40th anniversary. His answer was absolute. No carpets, no radio, no comfort provisions of any kind. The F40 produced 478 horsepower from a twin-turbocharged V8 and weighed 1,100 kilograms. The interior was bare carbon and exposed metal. When a journalist asked Enzo what driver aids it contained, he reportedly said the throttle, the brakes, and the steering wheel. Nothing in that answer was imprecise. His last answer, still the clearest one. Enzo Ferrari died in 1988. The company he left behind would spend the next decade searching for what came after certainty. The Lamborghini Diablo of 1990 arrived after years of development complicated by ownership. Chrysler had acquired Lamborghini in 1987, and American executives participated in the development process, requesting more compliant suspension, improved air conditioning, and greater refinement than the Countach had offered. Lamborghini's engineers accommodated those requests to the minimum degree necessary. The Diablo produced 492 horsepower from a 5.7-liter V12 and reached a top speed of 325 kilometers per hour, making it the fastest production car in the world at launch. Chrysler asked for comfort. Lamborghini delivered the minimum. The Bugatti Ebb 110 of 1991 wore a French name on an entirely Italian car. Romano Artioli, an Italian businessman, had acquired the Bugatti name and built a factory outside Modena, in Sant'Agata Bolognese, the same town as Lamborghini. The Ebb 110 produced 560 horsepower from a quad turbocharged 3.5-liter W12 engine, and was the first production car to combine all-wheel drive with a carbon fibre monocoque chassis. Bugatti went bankrupt in 1995. The Volkswagen Group acquired the name. The factory became a warehouse. 139 cars had been delivered. French name. Italian everything else. The Ferrari F40 of 1995 was not sold to its buyers outright. Ferrari leased every example for the first 2 years of ownership. The factory's position was that a car built this closely around Formula One architecture required maintenance standards that private owners could not be trusted to meet independently. 549 examples were produced, each priced at approximately $500,000. The naturally aspirated 4.7-liter V12 produced 513 horsepower and was mounted as a structural element of the chassis rather than sitting within it. Ferrari loosened the lease requirement after significant buyer resistance. Ferrari sold you the car, then kept the title. The Lamborghini Diablo SV of 1995 stood for Sport Veloce, and the name was accurate in ways Lamborghini may not have fully anticipated. Stripped of the standard Diablo's four-wheel drive system and some interior weight, the SV was lighter, less expensive than the standard car, and faster through corners. It produced 510 horsepower. Critics and buyers who drove both versions consistently preferred the SV's directness over the standard car's additional complexity. Lamborghini had created a cheaper variant of its flagship and accidentally produced the version worth owning. The factory did not appear to find this troubling. Less car. More Diablo. Ferrari had spent 23 years building mid-engine Grand Tourers when the 550 Maranello arrived to settle an argument. The Ferrari 550 Maranello of 1996 returned the V12 to the front of the car for the first time since the 365 GTB4 of 1968. Purists had maintained throughout the intervening decades that a front-engine Ferrari was the correct Ferrari, and that the mid-engine configuration, however technically superior, changed the character of the machine in ways that could not be recovered. The 550 produced 485 horsepower and reached 320 kilometers per hour. It handled with a balance that mid-engine Ferraris had never quite achieved. 23 years later. Worth the wait. The Lamborghini Diablo GT of 1999 was the final Lamborghini built without German oversight. Audi had acquired the company in 1998, and the engineering process that followed would change what a Lamborghini was allowed to be. The GT came before that process completed. 80 examples were produced. The 6-liter V12 produced 575 horsepower, making it the most powerful Diablo ever built. It weighed 1,800 kilograms, and no traction control system was fitted. Lamborghini described it as a car for experienced drivers. That assessment was considered generous by those who drove it. 80 built. Then, the Germans arrived. The Ferrari 360 Modena of 1999 changed how Ferrari was constructed rather than simply what it could do. It was the first Ferrari road car built around an aluminium spaceframe chassis, lighter than the steel structure it replaced, stiffer, and easier to repair after accidents. The 3.6-litre V8 produced 400 horsepower. The car weighed less than the F355 it replaced despite being physically larger. Ferrari had rebuilt its manufacturing logic from the material outward and produced a car that outsold every previous Ferrari model in the company's history within its first 3 years. Bigger car. Less weight. New Ferrari. The decade closed with a single car built by one man in one workshop, with no corporate backing and no manufacturer history. The Pagani Zonda C12 of 1999 was the first car Horacio Pagani had ever built under his own name. An Argentinian engineer who had worked in Italy since the 1980s, Pagani had approached Ferrari for employment earlier in his career. Ferrari declined. He built his own company, sourced a Mercedes AM V12 producing 550 horsepower, and constructed the Zonda's body from carbon fibre and titanium in a workshop outside Modena. 10 examples of the C12 were produced in the first year. None of the reviewers who drove it mentioned the rejection letter. Ferrari said no. Pagani built his own answer. What Italy produced between 1962 and 1999 was not a car industry in any recognizable sense. It was a series of individual obsessions, engineers who built chassis on their own time without permission, a dying man approving one final statement, a rejected job applicant constructing his answer in a workshop, a volume manufacturer producing 18 cars that cost more than a Ferrari 4. Reasons no one adequately explained. The 250 Gito lied to a regulator and won 3 championships. The Miura began as insubordination. The Zonda began as a refusal to accept a rejection. No other country produced a list like this one. Next time, we crossed the Alps, where Germany had been conducting its own very different argument about how fast a road car should go.